Okay, part three. Church music began to split into different streams as well. Um, there's country gospel, there's southern gospel, there's African American gospel. One of the things that began to happen as rock and roll began to come out in the 1950s. Now, in many churches, it was soundly denounced as satanic. I grew up with it. I kind of liked it. But drums and electric guitars first began to be used, and electric organs, the Hammond type, not the big ones, began to be used in African American churches. They gradually began to come into the white churches. And the music changed with it. Suddenly you began to see fights breaking out in churches over the music, and they're still going on today. As a church consultant, I've worked with numerous churches where they were experimenting. They would have one service that was contemporary, meaning praise choruses, modern music, drums, guitars, and they would have a traditional service, which is piano and organ and traditional hymns. What they found that they were doing is just splitting their congregation. That didn't work too well. But they fought over which music was good, never realizing that every time the music changed, the churches fought about it. We don't know our history very well. But it gradually made its way in. Country is exemplified a cappella by a group called Home Free. Google it on YouTube or search for it on YouTube, they'll pop up. So church music began to become more secular, and secular music began to become more religious. One of the most powerful songs of the 20th century was written by two young men named Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel. Simon and Garfunkel. I'm sure you've heard it. I'm sure you know it. It was first recorded and released in 1965. I remember the first time I heard it, I said, wow. It was not like the other music. It had some profound lyrics and had some profound music to it. It's called The Sound of Silence. People today are searching for something. We've been searching for a long, long time. There's that part of our soul that doesn't seem to be there. There's a hole in the soul. We're searching for something to fill that. And so we look all over the place. We look to the Eastern mysticism, to Buddhism and Confucianism. We look to some of the other mystic type religions. And we're looking for something we can't quite find. And not being able to do that. Simon and Garfunkel wrote the lyrics to The Sound of Silence. Now there's supposedly a contradiction there right now. What is the sound of silence? Is there a sound of silence? Starts off like this, and I'm going to comment as we go through. Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again. It's that closed-in feeling where the only place we feel safe is in the darkness. It's the only place we feel safe enough to talk to the darkness, to ask those hard questions. And they write, because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence. In restless dreams, I walked alone. narrow streets of cobblestone. Neath the halo of a street lamp, I turned my collar to the cold and damp. When my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light that split the night and touched the sound of silence. The picture here is of a city at night, of loneliness, of quiet asking, of searching. And then it's shattered by neon. They write, and in the naked light, I saw 10,000 people, maybe more. People talking without speaking. People hearing without listening. People writing songs that voices never share. And no one dared disturb the sound of silence. Fools, I said, you do not know silence like a cancer grows. Hear my words that I might teach you. Take my arms that I might reach you. But my words, like silent raindrops, fell and echoed in the well of silence. And then the people bowed and prayed to the neon god they made. And the sign flashed out its warning in the words that it was forming, and the sign said, "The words of the prophets are written on the subway walls and tenement halls, and whispered in the sounds of silence." When you begin to digest all of that, it totally fits 2020. Now, 2020 is a year I think we'd all like to leave behind. 2020 sucks, okay? Simple as can be. We'd like to think that it's going to get better. But it's an amazing opportunity also to take a hard look at ourselves and where we fit in this picture. Remember, Jesus did not say, go to church and sit on your butt and we'll see you next Sunday. He said, go into the entire world to preach the gospel, make disciples of the nations. The sounds of silence means we sit. We worship our neon god, whether it's money, fame, whatever it is, instead of worshiping the God that the Bible points us to. The sounds of silence, I think, is a good anthem for your generation, because they're searching, they're searching, they're searching. Not quite sure what they're searching for. But here's the deal, guys. You are either leaders or you are followers. I believe sincerely that God has called each of you to be leaders in your own way. The only question is, will you take up that mantle, that yoke, if you will? That's the hard question. Like I said, I've said before, I may not have said it in this class, I felt a call to ministry when I was 20 years old. I got fired from my first ministry job by my father, yeah. But I never conceded that I wanted to be a minister, a pastor. No, that was not me. So I ran. And I eventually ended up in the belly of the beast. And I ended up on a cold, wet ocean shore smelling of fish, thinking, okay, God, you win. I will follow you. We all fight against it in some ways. We all want instant results. No, you won't get them. Yeah, you will occasionally. But what happens is things come to you unexpectedly. Several years ago, I was talking with a nephew of mine back in Michigan, And he was talking, yeah, he was talking he's a cashier at a chain grocery store at the time. And no, excuse me, he was a customer. And he gave the cashier his check, and she looked at it and she said, Pulse, that's a really unusual name. He says, yeah, it is. There's not many of us. She says, are you any relation to Daryl Pulse? He says, yeah, why? He's my uncle. She says, I was in his youth group 20 years ago. He taught me to really pray, and it changed my life. You don't always get instant results, but you do get results. So with this understanding of music and how it's changed, my goal is, again, that you be able to take elements from all of this and shape it into a message, a powerful, holy space that helps people come to terms with themselves. Yeah, that's what it's about, really. I don't have to come to terms with you more than anything. I have to come to terms with myself first. We don't do that. We don't do that well. So sometimes you're going to have to come up with music that's very soft and contemplative. Sometimes there's room for the noisy stuff. But sometimes you've got to touch the soul. Sometimes you might be called for the music for a funeral. You want to touch the soul of these grieving people. So music is, every genre I think is useful, including good old rock. Like I said, I grew up with it. Not into heavy metal, not into that. But it has its place. And it's depending on you to formulate it, to put it into a perspective where people can say, yes, this drew me into a space where I could connect with God. Heavy stuff, I know. Enjoy the music. And post some comments. This is on the discussion board. I'm really interested to see what your reactions are to the different forms of music and to what I've been saying and what I've written here. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.